We will have a short panel discussion right now, even though we are over time. Before we jump into that, I wanted to extend my warmest thanks to all the 6 speakers we had today, representing 7 different countries, um, 6 different countries in the South Pacific, including Japan as well, of course. We wanted also to thank the Geodesic Sendai initiative for supporting this work, and the IGS, as well as the IUGG, GGOS, and Geohazards focus areas for providing the infrastructure and community to develop these perspectives. Thank you also to all our attendees today. Again, if you would like more information or to review some of the presentation, this meeting has been recorded and will be made available. And at this moment, I would like to invite anyone else having questions to ask to either raise their hands or post them in chat. I will start by the few ones that were posted earlier during the meeting. So, for example, we had a question for Viliami Falau from Francine Coloma. Francine asks, what sort of emergency public notification exists for Tonga? For example, could you use cell phone networks or amateur radios or fishing boat radios to broadcast an emergency message?
Thank you, Leo, for the question. Regarding emergency public notifications, right now it's only the radio and the TV that's on. I'm not sure, just a few months ago, there was a launch of an app on the phone for for notification, but I have to confirm that. But for my understanding, the radio is the main source of notification for Tonga, also through the internet when the internet is on. But it's basically the radio, FM and AM. The outer islands, only the AM radio can reach the outer islands, especially the northmost island of Niue. That's still an issue for relaying information, especially forecast and disaster notification. It would be good if they could use the phone network to send messages, because everybody uses a phone. Right now, not everyone is listening to the radio, especially AM radio. I think the phone is the most effective ways of sending messages, especially disaster notification.
There is also effort being going for in between different GNSS providers in terms of search and rescue and GNSS constellations broadcast these type of message, again, for search and rescue, not really for early warning, but the technology is being I had personally questions on raise hand for Simon. Coming back to the CubeSats, is it possible with those CubeSats to also have measurements of the topside ionosphere? I see. I know that you presented the measurements of the bottom side around to CubeSats, but
so the measurements that we were making were actually for the top side ionosphere, not the bottom side. So if you, I have seen a publication out there where people have augmented a CubeSat with some sort of L-band transceiver where they've done top side and bottom side sounding of the ionosphere. But in this case study, we were just looking at the top side, so the ionosphere above in the pod case examples.
But in this case, your plot where the ionosphere, you argued the ionosphere was pushed above measurements, uh, showed a pretty fat ionosphere. Was it in the top side?
Yeah, so we haven't gone back and redone the occultations to know how high it seems to have been pushed, but it's at least above 600 kilometers. We couldn't see the ionosphere below, any ionosphere below 600 kilometers.
Okay.
Because we were looking sideways through the bottom side of the ionosphere in those occultation studies, and we didn't see it at 600, so it's above that.
Okay. Okay. See, so it was a radio occultation.
Yeah, so some part of the case study was looking at the top side, that was using the pod, the zenith looking antenna, and then we were looking at the bottom side or the total ionosphere using the occultation. But there was no ionosphere to be occulted in the occultations we did right after the explosion, because the ionosphere had been lifted above the satellite at that point.
Sure. Okay. This actually answers another question from Sincoma about how high the ionosphere lift during the Hunga Habai event. So above 600 kilometers.
Yeah, I don't know how much further above that it is, but yeah, it's definitely above 600.
Okay. Thank you. Elisabetta, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, if I can, I have a question for the other panelists that are more expert on still on the ionosphere applications. By using that, how much lead time for coastal community you think we have? Basically, what I'm thinking is that for the New Zealand case, in case the Higuragni subduction zone rupture, we have 20 minutes time basically to evacuate. So we currently rely on natural warnings for the community that are closer to the source. If we wanted to explore the application of the ionosphere technique here in New Zealand, what kind of tsunami source and what kind of distance for the generation source that we're looking at?
I could probably talk a little bit about that. There is some incompressible factor of how much time does it take for the atmospheric wave to go from the ground to the ionosphere, and this is at most, this is at least 8 minutes if it's propagating an acoustic wave propagating vertically, and then from there, if we can detect the perturbation in the atmosphere in real time, it is a matter of just getting the data to the ground receiver to the processing. At JPL with Guardian, we can achieve 5 to 10 minutes latency after it's been detected in the ionosphere, after the wave has reached the ionosphere. So I would say at the very least, it's 8 minutes, and it's incompressible. We can't really do much. We can accelerate the processing afterwards. Um, it might take longer for other types of waves. For gravity wave launched at an angle, their physical process is slightly different. They have a propagation speed that is slightly different. For tsunamis, the worst case of a tsunami, a tsunami-induced gravity wave propagating obliquely to the ionosphere would be about 40 minutes, I think. But if we can detect it in the middle of the ocean, that's still enough lead.
And sorry, that would be from earthquake origin time or event origin time or
Surface
from
displacement.
the surface display. Okay, yeah, cool, thanks.
But essentially, it's that for earthquakes, volcanic eruptions, or I mean, it's a little different if you're looking at a propagating tsunami wave, because the gravity wave is generated when the wave passes, which is, slightly different origin time. But the original uplift is essentially co-timed with rupture.
It might be good to also consider the fact that with the Hunga Tonga event, it generated medio tsunamis, which travel a lot faster than the well, the shallow ocean tsunamis that you would see near New Zealand and Australia. So, and it turns out that the ionospheric detection technique was basically the only technique other than ocean pressure measurements that could detect these medio tsunamis. So that might be worth considering as well.
That is also an excellent point. Those meteor tsunamis can also happen in the Mediterranean and the east coast of the US, and we've seen all measurements of that in radio occultation and TEC over these types of events. I see also that Viliami you have your hand. I think you're still muted.
Thank you. First of all, it's just a kind of question. I think my comment is after hearing the presentations and experiences throughout the world regarding tsunami early warning system and infrastructures and technologies supporting early warning system, I believe we can see where we are in the Pacific. There is a huge gap in knowledge, in technology, in resources, in equipment, and nearly everything. But I think that's the positive outcome for me of the workshop is that we can see where we are and we can see what other countries are doing and doing something the same for us. But I believe we can all agree there is a huge gap. There is a need within the region, especially in disasters and tsunami. We all know the vulnerability of the region. We have infrastructures in place, but we still need assistance from experts throughout the world in terms of implementing GNSS to enhance tsunami early warning system. And secondly, is a question just out of the floor. During the eruption, we were sent a few analysis of land displacement based on the Tonga station, GNS stations, and there was quite a movement in terms of vertical and also horizontal. And discussing this, and few comments were brought up. The result for land displacement during the eruption might not be that high because maybe it caused by the volcanic plumes. So the question is, I'm still trying to figure out that if that's the case, how can we extract the volcanic plumes and get an exact land displacements during the eruption? So that's the question just out of the floor. Thank you.
I might jump in and try to give a first try since I brought up the technique that we use. So there is basically two groups, as far as I know, that have developed some software and open source. They're all open source, so I can send you then the link of the publications. But basically, those techniques are using the signal to noise ratio records on the raw GNSS data to basically see how much effect the volcanic plume has on the signal delay, basically. So it's not it's the impact will be on the positioning because it's basically an unmodeled delay of the GNSS signal path. But you can basically use an independent processing technique that is just using raw GNSS data with some manipulation of the data to see and confirm if that's the case. And for something like the Hunga Tonga Hapa eruption. I'm pretty sure that if you have the data, it's not like a subtle signal in the signal to noise ratio time series that you're looking at. So I'm pretty sure it should be easy to disambiguate this signal. In theory, then I don't know. That's my first try, but maybe there are others in the room that have better answers.
I might leave the floor more versed in precise positioning. Meanwhile, to go through other questions, I saw that Andrzej has his hands raised.
Thank you, Leo. So it's a question to actually to Simon and Elisabetta as well, with regards to. I'm quite curious in terms of the GNSS data and how it is contributing in terms of the early warning. With that, how much contribution are you making towards the Pacific Tsunami Warning Center, which is the regional hub for the region? How you're contributing that data sets towards that? Quite curious on that aspect.
Go first, Elisabetta.
I was going to tell you the same. You go.
Okay. I can give, so all of GA's GNSS data is made publicly available in real time, if it's streaming. So, and anyone can access it. Currently, we are not using that data in for tsunami warning, but it's something that GA is actively considering at this time, but we're not doing it at the moment.
My answer is unfortunately the same. So basically what we're doing and what I was trying to show in the presentation is that likewise, Geoscience Australia, we have the data in real time. We distribute it to anyone in the world. And there is, for example, Central Washington University and Team Melbourne that I know is in the room that gets our data, process it and use it for tsunami monitoring in that region. But we personally don't use them right now. And the project I was trying to show during the last part of my talk is starting to do that. From experimenting and prototyping to do it that in an operational sense, there's a long road. And probably, as far as I know, for now, Japan and US are the only ones that are really using GNSS data in Tsunami Early Warning Center, but John has something to say as well, and others. We don't, it said.
Well, I'm not sure what the current status is, but I do know that Central Washington University and Scripps and JPL were working with NOAA to develop the GNSS displacement capability for the Pacific Disaster Center. I don't know whether that work has continued, but certainly they've applied GPS cockpit to the analysis effort. I don't know if it's become operational.
I can update you. And the NOAA, the U.S. Tsunami Warning Program, the NCTR, which is their research arm, is based in Seattle, Washington, and they've been taking our point positions and Brendan's GFAST software and operationalizing it, and that's been steady for a couple of years. But that's a different thing than sending it out to the operational centers. And so in the U.S. system, there's the Honolulu, the Pacific Center, and then there's the National Center up in Alaska. And the Alaska Center is within a week or two of deploying it operationally. So that's almost live within weeks.
Right. Very exciting.
Thank you very much.
We had 2 questions in chat. Well, the first one was from Frank Nohan. Frank, want to ask it live, or should I?
Yeah, just in general, I'm asking a question about the social science aspects of tsunami warnings. So how do you get people to react properly and not be surprised and lose time. So that requires training and acclimatization. And then the warning might be different. The warning you disseminate to people or push out on an app might be different depending on where you are. If you're 50 meters above sea level, then you don't want people to, start running. And I think in the presentation from the presenter from Tohoku University, I think those apps actually do that in Japan. So maybe somebody would comment on that.
I think that is
Yes.
what. Oh, go ahead.
You go.
Oh, no, I was just confirming that I think that what Kushimura Sensei was hinting at. I think
That
Oh,
should
no,
be exactly the major purpose of improving the accuracy of tsunami warnings, because an enormous amount of cost is attributed to these warnings in which we drive populations up onto safer ground. And we also lose their confidence when those predictions have not been validated. So it's very important to have an effective and efficient warning system.
it
I
is.
think I'll share our experience here during the Humatoma Hawaii tsunami. And also there was another latest tsunami warning also this year. I think the question is correct. When the volcano hits and the tsunami comes in, everybody were rushing to one point in Nuku'alofa. So there was already highlighted few areas that are safe, but people just, when the tsunami, this is the place to go. So there was a huge traffic to that one place. Even people from safer ground still comes down and goes toward that safe place. And after that, consultation and were made to let the people know that there are safer places to be, not just one place. So when we had a few months ago, we had an earthquake and a tsunami siren were on. So everybody was rushing, but there was no traffic because people already know that those that live in a little bit higher ground, they are encouraged to stay there. So there were less traffic and less moving around because I think people learned from the Humatoma tsunami. But interesting regarding information and giving out. It came on the radio. The safest place is a three-story building. Three-story building, and we are saying, what kind of information is this? There's not many three-story building. And if I am in a two-story building, will I go down and look for a three-story building? So discussion was still made on how we can relay accurate but also useful information that helps public to do not panic. Just because for me the information regarding this is in the most accurate information to give out. But again, I think we are learning along the way in terms of giving out information. Also, people are knowing where to be in time of disasters and knowing where you are. I think is the most important. Are you safe there, or you have to evacuate? If you know, confirm you're safe there, then just stay put in the home, which is what happened in the last warning. But then, just sharing our experience from the tsunami and the previous tsunami warning.
Okay. Elizabeth, I think you had maybe a thought.
William, you probably covered already. I just can share for now, until now in New Zealand, we are relying on public education, outreach, and natural warning. And there is a message that we share all the time, and people here in the country will know long or strong, get gone, and has been proven very successful we had last year a day where we called a tsunami. There were 3 events that generated small tsunami, luckily, but people were able. One of them was close to the northern part of New Zealand, and people felt it, and coastal communities evacuated, and they do this all the time, and it's quite impressive how well educated this country is, particularly for me that I come from Italy, where lots of people doesn't even know what a fault is. So public education, I think it's really probably the first stepping stone.
Thank you. Thank you for these insights. I don't want to keep. We have one last question slash remark from Rolf Da, um, our IGS governing board vice chair, which rightfully brings us back on. Rolf, I can let you.
I can also formulate it directly. These are very impressive presentations on the achievements in this field, but either I was too sleepy in the European night, but what I was missing a bit, whether you can use IGS products for these applications or not, and if not, why? Where are the weaknesses regarding latency, reliability, quality, what the IGS should improve that you can benefit more from the IGS products?
I
It's
will
the
totally rely
question,
on IGS
obviously.
products, Rolf. So the answer is yes, we use it, either the real-time products. My plan is to test exactly that. So how robust the system that we build in-house can be if it has to rely on the IGS real-time products for first. And what I was planning to do is, so different software will have different strategies that might not be fully aware of, but that's future work, at least from my side of things. And I know that some rely on standard products, so the classic orbits and clocks that we use for our daily processing, and some others will rely heavily on the IGS real-time products. So I might be able to answer, hopefully, at the next round. But yes, IGS is fundamental to these studies. Like we couldn't do that without. So thanks for asking the question.
It's the IGS products are very important from the calculation of PPP products, orbits and clocks, to the distribution of real-time data. And also the IGS networks, although the IGS networks, as of a few years ago, were largely oriented towards regional and plate tectonic issues and not so much oriented to the mesoscale monitoring of GNSS signals. But IGS produced the MJEX experiment and the real-time products, real-time what is it? Real-time GNSS. I've forgotten what it is, but it's been a primary mover in developing these capabilities.
I think this is what you mean is likely more the real-time activities of the IGS. But what I think what might be helpful are stations from the TIGA network, because they are located on tide gauges, and there the data latency is sometimes not that, yeah, on the same level as for the other stations. So might be that this could be something to help this applications more, or yeah, that's why I'm asking.
I can jump in for the GNSS program. We have a tsunami monitoring gauge network, and I'm not familiar, as I should be, with the TIGA one. One of the requirements for the gauge network that we have is to have a high sampling rate, so data are collected every second, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be probably a first requirement. I'm not sure what sampling rate the TIGA network has. Sometimes for sea level monitoring, the sampling rate might be a bit higher, lower, sorry.
Okay.
Might be that it's just the case because nobody has posed this requirement to this station owner. So
I suppose that is Rolf, correct me, but if this was not your meaning, but a call for those participants, speakers, and institutions to please reach out to the IGS with requirements to make those infrastructures possible. In other words, to please communicate what you need from the IGS.
I think this should be exact the point here where we can exchange, we should exchange on this. It's not the AGU, it's not the EGU, it's the IGS
Yeah, it's
that we
international.
have here with IGS components in the audience.
Very nice. Thank you. I do completely agree with that. Before we close, I think Miara Hassan, you had your hand raised. I'd like to give you something to add.
Yes, sorry, I just want to say that the Japanese system are currently using IGS Ultra Rapid for the processing, and we really appreciate IGS for the support. And a real-time orbit is still not stable for us to use for the operational processing, but it could be the future another alternative for us to support our system. Thank you very much.
Thank you for this feedback. I think I want to close, not to hold on for too long. This was a very interesting and exciting panel discussion. I do encourage you to reach out to us or to the speakers directly if you have more questions. Again, this meeting has been recorded and will be made available. Please feel free to forward that to your colleagues who could not attend today. And with that, I would like to thank everyone again, the speakers and the attendees, for participating and presenting, granting us those very exciting talks, although on a important and critical topic. Very much, and see you in the next Tour that I just saw.
Thank you for these presentations. Good night.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Leo, amazing chairing. Thank you so much.